Then we just fold and glue all these edges together using super glue or hot glue. Now typically you would just want to glue these two halves together like this, but I'm not going to do that just quite yet. Instead, I'm going to make some pencil marks to indicate where the face shell sits flush with my head, because even though the width of the face shell is suitable for my head, the height, on the other hand, not so much. The face shell is a little too tall for my head. So I can use those markings to trim off the excess, and that will make for a much better fit and make the face shell end closer to my chin. Doing this actually made a pretty noticeable difference compared to my previous Spider-Man mask, so I recommend doing the same thing on your mask, especially if your head shape is more round like mine is. At this point, I went ahead and made the template for the lenses, and as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap right there because the holes on the face shell are quite big. But that's okay, that's a pretty easy fix. All I have to do is just trace that shape onto paper, and once I make sure it fits correctly, I can transfer the paper pattern onto cardboard, and that will get rid of the gap. Next thing I'm going to do is cover the entire face shell in resin, and here we just basically want the cardboard to soak up all that resin so that when it dries it becomes rigid and durable. So I did one layer of resin on the inside of the mask and one layer of resin on the outside as well. Also notice I put a temporary piece of cardboard on the inside of the mask there. That's just to kind of push the sides of the mask outwards. That way when it hardens it will hopefully give the face shell a little bit more of an organic looking head shape. Once the resin fully dried, I just quickly sanded it down, and you don't need to sand it like crazy or anything. This is just done to rough up the surface and prepare it for the filler that we're going to apply on it. Alright, well here is some spackling that I had left over from my Captain America shield, and I'm now going to apply this all over the mask, covering the entire thing from top to bottom. I'm being very generous with it here because I want this mask to look seamless and smooth when I put the black fabric over it. By the way, you could also use wood filler for this, or Bondo, or anything of that sort, and I think you'd pretty much get the same results. The spackling only takes a couple hours to dry, and then I can sand down the whole thing to smooth out all those lumps and get a more refined shape like this. This might have been a little overkill, but I thought it would be a good idea to give it one last layer of resin, and that will just kind of seal the spackling and prevent it from cracking. This part is completely optional, but if you want, you can spray some Plastidip over the face shell, and that might make it easier to eliminate wrinkles in the fabric because the fabric will grip onto the face shell a little bit better. I made some free templates for the lenses, and I numbered all the pieces in order. So first you want to go ahead and transfer piece number 1 onto Bristol board, and then piece number 2 and 3, you just cut those out of paper. So I'm going to glue piece number 2 and 3 behind piece number 1, and that will basically just fill in all those little slit details that you see on piece number 1. So from the front it should look a little something like this. Moving on, I'm going to take some craft foam and slice a thin strip of it. It's nice if the craft foam already has an adhesive backing on it because we're going to run this piece of craft foam along that line